Hello, what is up,
Hello.
everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Cut to the Sith Side. Kai, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So, guys, Hannah might show up a little bit late. She's a little under the weather, so you'll have to deal with me and Kai for now. Which you guys are in good hands. Don't worry. But how was your
We're gonna
time
try
off?
our best. We're gonna try our best.
Yes. How was your time off last week? I know you were spending time with family and stuff.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, good Thanksgiving. Just kind of up in Big Bear area in California, so
Oh,
it was a little
nice.
bit chillier, but it was all right. What'd you do? Just stick
Absolutely
around this.
nothing. I hung out. I played video games all day. It was so nice and relaxing. And then I didn't have to work Black Friday. And I work retail, which is crazy. So having that off, bro, it was beautiful.
That's
Beautiful.
awesome.
Yeah, man. Yes. All right. So we'll run through the chat real quick, say what's up. We got a lot of people in here. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of episodes 1 and 2 of Skeleton Crew.
I know. I'm really sad that we don't have Hannah for this because
I know,
I
because
want to know what she thinks.
I didn't watch her reaction videos on purpose
Me
because
neither.
I wanted to see her take. So I'm sure if she pops in, we'll get to see. I think she enjoyed it. Um, I don't know though, but sometimes she surprises you. So I guess we'll see. We'll see. So we got Aaron in the chat. What is up,
Hey, Aaron.
Illyrio? Welcome, Illyrio. Austin, what's up, man? He liked it more than Acolyte.
Fair.
DB, what's going on? Tim, what is up? Let's see. Alejandro, hello. Shreddy's in the building. Nathan in the building. Tim, somehow the Sif side returned. Let's go. Shout out to Rossi with the 99-cent super sticker and the $1.49 super sticker.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you, Rossi. Galactic, ahoy, mateys. What's up, Galactic? Oh, you changed your picture to Smee.
Love
Okay.
that.
All right, okay. Who else we got in the building? Shreddy, Phidias. What is up, Phidias? Oh man, this chat is crazy. Trent, what's up, Trent? Welcome to the stream. Daisy, hello there. Clan Talon, cut to the Sif side. That's fire. Yes, you already know. 813, what's up? Get well soon, Hannah. Yes. Rick Creations, what's up? The Kai side. I kind of like that. Oh
Then it cuts
man.
out you.
Well, maybe the episodes I'm not here, it'll be the
Mm,
Kai side. We should just alternate it depending on who's here.
yeah.
So this
Right
is
now we're the Sith
Sith
cut.
Kai, Sith Kai or Sith cut. Yeah, the Sith cut. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Let's go. Zuhair, what's up? What's up, the Edge? Fern was annoying as hell. Oh my god.
Oh, we'll talk about this.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's see who else. Lightning Slug in the building. What's up? Anakin Stark. What's up? What's up, DB again? All right, guys. So, Kai, you just watched it yesterday. You didn't watch it on launch day. What?
I was traveling. This is like the first
Oh,
Star Wars premiere that I didn't really actually I do remember the Mandalorian premiere. I was working that day and I was like my
oh,
mind was being blown and I was like in the back rooms like playing the Disney Plus file and I was like, oh my god, like I can't believe I'm at work and I can't like
yeah.
just sit down and watch this. So that one yeah, this one I also missed the premiere of, but like I had said on the other podcast we've done, I wasn't like super looking forward to this show, so I wasn't like
Yeah.
missing out, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
So let's start with episode 1. What did you think of the first episode when you watched it initially?
I was a little like, well, okay, hold on. Let me preface this all by saying I generally liked it, and I am excited to have a Star Wars show like this,
Mm-hmm.
especially after The Acolyte, I feel like this is a really refreshing
Yeah.
take, and it's just nice to like have something that has a lot of like childlike sense of wonder and stuff like that. So that is my preface. I think something that I'm like really having a hard time with Disney, and honestly, maybe it's just like a whole like industry thing right now, is
Mhm.
shows that they're not quite doing like the Game of Thrones thing where it's like, oh, they're gonna go a full like hour show
Mhm.
and you're gonna get this epic thing in one episode, and then the next episode is gonna be another big epic thing. And it's not quite like, a serialized like 20-30 minute show where it's like every episode is its own thing, and
Yeah.
then the next episode is going to be its own thing. We're kind of in this weird like middle section where it's like, it really does again feel like it's a movie but cut up into little
Stretched
parts.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that, I think, is something that just keeps rubbing me the wrong way in these shows, is just like, I'm like, the way that this is going, I'm like, you should have just made it into a movie, and I would have been at the theaters. I would watch it all in one go, and we would have been like, yeah, this is awesome. But this is
Yeah.
like tiny little snippets of story that are going to, amass
Drag out.
something big. But like, that's really what I'm feeling. So my initial reaction to episode 1 was like, all right, that's a start. We're
Yeah.
somewhere. And I will say though, Neil stole my heart. I love Neil. Probably is
Yes.
going to be one of my favorite Star Wars characters by the end of the show.
Yeah, man. Neil, the first episode, Neil stole the show. Every scene, like he was just so innocent, like an innocent child.
Mhm.
Everything he said, I died. But no, I get what you're saying for sure. Because now that I think of it, it would be crazy if it was just you got the whole story in one sitting. It was a movie, like the old Peter Pan movie, like Hook. Like that was
Mhm.
great, banger movie. You had the whole story beginning to end. For this, I feel like it's going to be a potentially dope story overall, but we're going to have to wait these 8 weeks to get all that. Which, yeah, that does kind of suck, but that's just like the whole Disney thing now, man. Disney Plus, they want to keep your subscription. They're going to stretch it out versus
Mhm.
giving you that story, like the Kai cut. Boom, right there
Yeah.
you go.
I know, and as I was watching this, I was kind of like, I feel like this is going to be one of those shows that is going to really benefit from like a movie cut. I don't know if,
Ooh.
I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying if it has a really, solid ending, it feels like it could be a good solid movie, because just the way the pacing is and everything,
Yeah.
I can see it totally like feeling really nice to consume it all in one go.
No, for sure. So the first episode, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It's a lot of nostalgia for me of like 80s movies, shows, vibes, like the kids with the bikes, with the little tassels. They had their little radios with the antennas, the little flashlights. So like that stuff, I'm a sucker for that. And like what I was not worried about, but I was like, is this going to feel like Star Wars? And it did have the Star Wars feelings, especially with the music. The music was pretty good, was pretty on point,
The
especially.
music actually reminded me more of like ET, and like, some of that. Obviously
Yeah.
that's still John Williams too,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like it reminded me of that feeling, Goonies too. And it was a great thing, and I think that soundtrack fit really well in the Star Wars universe, but in a different way that was fresh and
Yeah.
new. So I really did love the music.
Yeah. Like E.T. meets Pirates of the Caribbean because some
Hmm.
vibes were like, okay, that sounds like pirates raiding the ship. So all that stuff was cool. I loved the Jedi stuff with Wim, how, and it's so relatable because like as a kid, everybody did that with the two vintage figures, like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah,
playing like that. And then when he ran into Wim and vroom, vroom, even as adults, I still do that with the
yeah.
lightsaber. So like stuff like that was cool, super relatable. Um, and then when we saw Neil's family, when I saw he had little siblings, I lost it. They were so freaking
They're
adorable.
so cute, truly.
Yeah, yeah, so good. But
I will say, like, immediately when they started off kind of with that mutiny sequence, and that like the captain who had, or I guess he wasn't the captain at that point, but like the wolf guy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, such a cool design. Like
Yep.
truly
Love it.
one of the best characters that they've designed for Star Wars. Like I just like and I know we've seen some of that species like in the background of stuff,
Yeah.
especially in I think it's the cantina scene.
And
There's
A
one
New
of those
Hope.
guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh man, he's awesome.
No, he really is. He was super dope. I loved the design. I loved how there was aliens everywhere, like the kids on the school bus, the kids in the classroom. When he was running out of home, his neighbor is a hammerhead, was walking a
Hmm.
dog and stuff. So I love that aspect that there's a lot of like aliens. Even in the second episode, soon when they went to that pirate place, like
Hmm.
so many cool, weird creatures. And that's the one of the things I love about Star Wars is that weird, wonky stuff that makes no sense. That like feels like traditional Star Wars.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you, and I know that we had talked before about like uh my problems with Andor, where like it just felt like there was a serious lack of aliens.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this one felt really nice. To that same point, though, I feel like something that took away for me personally was like American suburbia.
Yeah,
You know?
I hear that. So I really like am impartial to it. I'm really like, okay, whatever. Like I didn't care that much, but like I get people's take on that. But then after watching so many videos of breakdowns and reactions, I think I like it more now because like the big mystery is this planet, nobody knows about it.
That's true.
So like it's almost like the Truman Show. You've seen the movie The Truman Show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So it's almost like that where this whole civilization is just fake and it's hidden. Even at night when he went to bed, there was like the green clouds and you saw the red
Yeah,
dots, like the barrier. Like the kids, when they got to space, they never even seen stars. Like that's crazy.
I know. I did think that was really wild.
Yeah, so it's like that kind of makes sense to me in canon, like why that is like that, because it's like it's not a real place, it's fake. Like people don't know, they've never been there, they can't get there. So it makes more sense in that way when you put it into that context. But like off rip, if it was like regular Star Wars, it's like, no, why is it so clean? Why aren't there like pirates there robbing them and stuff like that, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. You know that I am always willing to be open. You know, open
Yeah,
minded about Star Wars, and that explanation. I think that resonates. I think I can understand that. Like, you know, when you take that lens and look through it, that can explain why we've never seen that anywhere else in Star Wars,
yeah,
which I do like. I think personally, I still would have liked them to do something else other than it just again, I think it's something that like Lucas was very adamant about was like keeping Star Wars familiar, but like different enough that you
yeah,
wouldn't really be able to like feel like it was close enough to home. Because I think that's when you start getting into like, oh, is this just Star Trek? You know, because
yeah. It was too
I
clean.
think that Star Trek felt or the planet they were on felt very much like Star Trek, like very much Earth
Yeah.
um, in the future. So that just took me out a little bit, and I don't want to be like a Star Wars theory figure being like the bricks and the screws. No, So, but I am like feeling more open to that idea that
Yeah.
uh, there is a canon explanation for why we've never seen it look like this. I think like even Canto Bite felt a little too close to
Vegas.
yeah, American culture, and maybe that is something like to relook at as an American, or even just in the Western culture, that uh, our culture isn't really brought into Star Wars, so it's weird to see that. But then also, I'm thinking about like if you're in Tunisia. and you watch Star Wars, you're like literally like, oh, that's like my backyard. So
Yeah.
it's probably very strange to have like a sci-fi movie, taking from all these different cultures, but leaving out American culture because that's like kind of what the intended audience for Lucas was. Obviously he wants it to be a global story, but
Yeah.
Lucas is an American filmmaker, and so he specifically was trying to leave out American culture so that American audiences wouldn't feel like, you know, uh, wouldn't feel like it was too close to home.
Yeah.
But I think looking at it through that lens, I can see maybe it is time for Star Wars to start, taking some American culture, some Western culture, and bringing it in, and maybe that's not such a bad thing. Wow,
Yeah.
look, I'm learning.
And to your point earlier, if this would have been a movie and we would have had the whole story and that explanation of why it was like that from the beginning, it probably would have hit a lot better, versus we might not find that out till the 6th or 7th or 8th episode, which is over a month away, that we'll have to sit on that. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. What did you think about the second episode?
I thought that was much more fun. Obviously, I think it picked up in action a little bit more. Um, I thought it was a little ridiculous that there was a bunch of kids in this like very insane environment. Um, but
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the vibe of the show is like, I didn't grow up in the 80s, but from what I see from, movies and shows that took place in the 80s, it was a very much like kids are running amok anyways and doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And I grew up more in the 90s, so like I I did some of that, and I grew up in Hawaii too, so there was a lot of like, you know, just family culture
Mm,
around, and so
yeah.
communities were pretty safe, and you could run around. I would constantly go maybe a half a mile down to a friend's house, and my parents would be like, yeah, go run off. So I
Yeah.
can see that like maybe in the 80s it was more lax, and since we're kind of harkening back to that feeling, kids are running around doing their own adventure. So I get that vibe. So maybe it's just shocking for like a more modern audience to like see something like that where like children are running around flying spaceships and stuff. But that is also the spirit of Star Wars too, is that like we're all those kids wanting to fly around in spaceships,
Yeah, no, for sure. The second one was fun. I think I enjoy the first one better. The second one,
Mm,
it was super short. Like when it was getting good, and then it just stopped. And I'm like, damn, it was really quick for me.
that's true. Yeah, it did and where I was like, wait, come on, there's got to be
Yeah,
more.
yeah. So it ended quick. The one thing though that the second episode did that really got my mind turning, which made me like even more interested in the show, is when both sets of kids got separated, and at the same time they were like, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" And then when the girls were like at Atten, that lady was like, "That's the treasure planet. Are you a lurling or whatever?
Yeah,
That doesn't exist." And then the pirate dudes were laughing at him like, "That's not a real place. I want to get there too," as if it's like a mythical legend. So now I'm dying to know what the heck is the big deal about Atten. And I guess his credits were Old Republic, brand new mint credits.
yeah,
And if it is Old Republic, that's thousands of years in the past. How long has this place been there that they have 1,000-year-old credits? Because they must have been there since before the Clone Wars, since before everything. If it's that old of a civilization, which would be interesting to find out, like if it was established there like that long ago, you know?
yeah. I guess that like makes me question like what have they been doing all this time, and
Yeah.
like do they have a say in like the Galactic Senate? Are they represented in the Galactic Senate, or are they really like closed off and doing their own thing, and almost like a in Attack of the Clones when Obi-Wan is looking for Camino because it's been
Yeah.
erased from the archives. Like, is that kind of what it is on the map? It's just like a little spot that has gravity, but you can't see it.
I think it might be because, like, even when Smee was trying to go through his memory, he's like, that planet is not on here. Do you mean this or do you mean that? So it wasn't even in his memory banks, which is interesting. And like when he went to sleep at night, it looked like it was green clouds. Like, is that like a projection that way from people from the outside? If they see it, does it look like poisonous gas and maybe they don't want to explore that planet? Because like it's like cover up something weird like that, you know?
Yeah, truly. Yeah. And this is where it starts feeling like the Truman Show, like
Yeah.
what is this place and how was it crafted? And yeah, there was an interesting thing here. This one, I feel like the robots are running at
Oh, Phidias.
I did feel like there was a very big robot presence in at Atten.
There, you know what?
And that's an interesting take.
Yeah, because the only humans we saw was just like the kids, the dad of Wim, who the dad is a jerk, bro. Like, come
Yeah.
on, bro.
Also just
Come,
neglectful.
yeah, yeah. Here's your credits for the whole week. I'm busy. Like,
Yeah.
damn. And then the mom, but at
But
school it
wait,
was all
sorry,
robots.
on that point, I do feel like at first that really did bother me. I was like, that is such a wild thing for like a father to do. And I think that that is what the filmmakers intended. They
Yeah,
want you to feel like he's neglecting his child, but it also kind of doubles as like a signifier of how safe this community is.
yeah.
That like parents are just like, whatever, do
Oh,
whatever you
yeah.
want, because they probably have set up their society in a way that they're like, this planet doesn't even exist. So there should never really be any threat. And it's, the robots are around 24/7 looking around. So I'm honestly surprised that they even made it out of the planet's, surface. Like, I feel like they would have had more barriers to that, but who knows? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, you're good. What's up, Benjamin? Um, so no, that's super interesting though, like with the robots, because if it was run by the robots and if they've been there that long, that might be why they don't have any like defenses because they know no one's gonna come in and that nobody could leave because there's no ships there. So that crash ship must have predate them building that there.
True.
Because when they flew away, you figured there'd be defenses to shoot it down, or if there was a barrier, they would have hit the barrier and crashed. So like
But they would have never expected something from inside
to
getting
go
out.
out. Yeah. So now I'm like, who's running the Truman Show? Is it the droids? Like that's so I don't know. It could get really interesting or really fun depending how they go. And then hold on, somebody had a question about the credits. So I know I so I guess when Wim paid with the credits, the fat alien to the left of him grabbed it and said Old Republic credits. I didn't look at the closed captions, but I want to say in one of the videos, somebody said that it was capital O, capital R, Old Republic credits.
Mm,
And when I see that, I think thousands of years Old Republic, not like the Republic from 30 years ago, which is older. Supposedly it's like Old Republic. So I don't know how they're gonna tie that in, but that could be cool.
interesting. Yeah, and I wonder if in the closed caption, if that was the beginning of the sentence, it would have had a capital O anyways. So maybe it's
Oh,
Old Republic, or maybe they're just saying past, like the past republic, which makes sense because right, where is this in the timeline? Kind of where the
after
Mandoverse is.
yeah, it's after Mando season 3 because Bane is still alive or Vane, whatever the guy's name. I think I keep calling him Bane, like from Batman,
Yeah,
but he's Vane. Vane is still there.
interesting.
And originally, I thought the planet was like an Empire planet that they had hidden that they're doing something there. But it can't be the Empire if they're paying with credits, Republic credits, right?
Right.
So it's like, what?
I'm very interested in. I'm wondering if they only picked this timeline because they're gonna eventually like link up with other people in the Mandoverse, uh, or if it's specifically because they wanted to pick a time where the Jedi were, you know, less of a thing that they could just run into. because I am thinking like it could have been really cool, like with this planet being, hidden.
Yeah.
This could have taken place at any time in the
Oh,
timeline.
it could have.
So I'm
I
wondering why they chose this time specifically.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I kind of don't want them to connect it. I have a feeling they probably will, because I bet you there's going to be an episode where they're out somewhere and Carson Teva is going to pull up in the X-Wing and try to pull them over or something like that. Carson Teva is always pulling up. But yeah, I don't know why they picked this timeline. That's super interesting.
I think maybe the only thing I can think of is like they want the Jedi to feel like kind of
Oh,
a legend kind of thing. But then I would have put it. I guess that is kind of the only place you could put it if you want that, because that's like how in Force Awakens, like Rey and Finn and everybody were like, aren't the Jedi just legends? So I guess that's kind of where we're at in the timeline. But I also wonder why on this planet then they would like school the children on who Jedi even were.
So that's another interesting thing that I saw in a video. Like, I think the only people that know about the Jedi are Wim and Neil, because Wim has his little fake iPad that
Right.
has those Jedi stories. Like, that was a little beat up thing. There's no way he got that from there. So the theory somebody had, and I'm like, that sounds like it makes sense, is maybe Wim's mom gave him that, and Wim's mom told him night stories about the Jedi, and that's the only reason that he
Is
knows
she a
about it.
Jedi?
Or is she alive? Oh wait, I mean, who? Well, if she was a Jedi,
Well,
that
then
means
could Wim have
Wim.
the Force?
That'd be cool. But yeah, cause like that beat up iPad, everything there is so clean and crispy, and there's no way at that school they would give them an iPad talking about the legends of the Jedi fighting the Sith, these temples, this and that. So, and somebody broke they decoded the Orabesh on there.
Oh yeah.
And I was wondering, like, is it Luke? Is it Vader? Like, is it like, what we know? But it was like no name Jedi. Like, one of them was like someone named Lena and this and that. So it was like different tales about good versus evil, Jedi versus Sith, but it wasn't anything that we know. So it's not like he knows Luke Skywalker or this or that. He
It's
just
just more
knows,
general tale.
yeah, general tales. So
Interesting.
that's another thing I'm looking forward to, is the reveal of his mom, to see who she was and how she knew about Jedi, if she was the one that gave him that iPad.
There were some really interesting comments coming in. I think we should spend a little bit of time reading some of these. This one, I also kind of felt it was odd when the kids got on the spaceport and were like, look, aliens, but they had at least 4 different species on their planet. I was a little bit like, why did they include that? Like, if I was doing like a Patterson cut of this, that would be a line I would easily take out, because I'd be like, they clearly had aliens on their planet. But, I guess you could argue that like they're talking about like aliens in terms of like, oh, these are species I've never seen before, because like even like, even on this planet, we call, it's not a great term, but we call people aliens when they're not even from this country. So like you could kind of say that like maybe that's the same thing, but it was a little strange to have that line.
Yeah, I think it was just a little comic relief, because it was Neil that said it, and Neil is like the weird looking one out of the 4. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. I bet the treasure will be another map to another galaxy, so they can go get Sabine and Ahsoka and bring them up. That's interesting.
Yeah, what's up, McClunky? I don't think it's gonna go touch into that though. I think Dave is keeping that story for him, especially because he's been there. Now, I wonder if he would like put like little breadcrumbs that kind of like tease something about that. But I don't want them to go over there. Like, it'd be so random. These 4 kids, hey, Sabine and Ahsoka, you guys need a ride?
Yeah, that would
I
be
wouldn't like that at all.
Weird.
And it was so hard for them to get there, but these little group of jabronis magically get over there. I'd be like, come on.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm hoping the play fight with Wim and Neil is foreshadowing to them fighting later in their lives. Interesting. I'm sure it is. That's
Oh
a great
man.
point.
I feel like one of the 4 kids has to end up being force sensitive by the end of the show.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a good thing and a bad thing. I also think, honestly, having Jude Law's character be force sensitive or a Jedi
Mhm.
is also not the best pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like, and I get it. It's like, Wim's dream is to, meet a
Yeah.
Jedi and learn more about them and stuff. So like obviously that gives him motivation to immediately trust this guy. And so it's not as strange to have a little kid just all of a sudden go like, yeah, we actually should trust this stranger
Yeah.
because he's like, loves the idea of Jedi. So I get that for that motivation to make sense for sure. Having Jude Law's character be a Jedi makes sense like for the story, but like in terms of the timeline and here we have another Jedi that survived Order 66 and stuff like that. I just feel like it for every Jedi that we put back into the Star Wars galaxy, the more Order 66 like becomes less important, I mean, it'll never not be important.
Yeah.
Even if like we found a tribe of 100 Jedi that were on some random planet and we're like, wow, a whole tribe of 100 Jedi survived the attack, I still think Order 66 would be very important to the story. But you know what I mean? Like there's something about like it feels less important,
Yeah.
even though it wouldn't be.
100%. Zuhair said, "Did Vane die in Mando season 3? I can't remember. He ran away like a little bitch. He flew away, like he dipped early during that fight, and then Gorian Shard or whatever the big green guy, his ship crashed into like that mountain. So yeah, Vane did survive Mando season 3. That's why I feel like this is after that in that timeline, right after Mando, right after Ahsoka. So
This is interesting. I think Jude Law is son of a female Jedi. IMDb has what seems to be his mom listed as a Jedi.
yeah, so I saw that before the show started. It says female Jedi and it has her full name, and her last name is the same as Jude Law's. So you would assume that's his mom. Hannah,
Or
when we
like
talked about it, his wife. Hannah was like,
I
"What if
was gonna
that's his
say that.
wife?" Yeah, but like, if it's his mom, the reason I'm leaning more that way is because then we probably would get a flashback onto how she got him away and how they survived, or maybe we'll see her die and then Jude Law gets away, and maybe he gets away with some pirates and starts living with these pirates, kind of like Star-Lord when he got kidnapped in Guardians, something like that.
That's interesting. See, I think Hannah is in here.
Uh-oh. Some send help.
I've got the blue shadow virus. Oh Lord.
What does that mean? Blue shadow, is that a real thing, or is she being funny?
Is that like the virus that was in the Clone Wars arc? I can't remember. Hannah, are you gonna die? Please tell us you're okay. Somehow Hannah returned. I love that.
Oh man. We'll see if she pops in. She's
oh
in
yeah,
the
see, I was right.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
You drongos.
Oh man.
We miss you, Hannah. We hope you get better soon.
Yeah, Hannah.
But not too soon, because we're cooking right now.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of theories going around, man.
I think that this is actually my favorite part of Star Wars is like after something comes out is like just all the possibilities are in front of you.
I think that's why I love Ahsoka so much, because freaking Marok, bro. Every day, it's Ezra, it's Kanan, it's Starkiller, it's Barriss Offee. It was so much fun trying to figure out who he was until he was nothing, which was a huge waste. And even when the sequels came out, who was Snoke? Everyone trying to figure out Snoke. That is honestly a fun thing, is trying to figure out who it is. And right now we're doing that. Like, who's running this planet? Like, who started it? How long has it been there? Why is it just droids? Somebody, I think it was in a chat somewhere. They were like, "What if it's that planet from Clone Wars? Remember that one kid that lived on a planet by himself with a bunch of battle droids,
Oh yeah.
and you could like fly in, but you couldn't fly out because of the defenses." Someone was like, "What if it's like that planet or similar to that?" And I was like,
Mm.
"Yo, interesting, interesting."
There's so many possibilities. It is really exciting, and honestly, I'm now getting more excited for the show than I was before because now I'm like, there
Yeah,
really could be a lot more to this than we're thinking.
and that's yeah. And once I watched all those videos today, and I started realizing more of the Truman Show aspect of it. I'm like, "Yo, this could be pretty fire." And it could be a really dope story that is its own thing, and it doesn't need to rely on the Skywalker saga or Clone Wars or this or that. It'll be its own thing, and it'll stand by itself, you know?
I really, really do hope that they don't like just please for the love of God don't connect it with everything else in the Star Wars universe. I really do want it to just stay as its own little thing in its own little world because right
Yeah,
now like they have something so great for like the vibe that they have and everything, and I just feel if they start bringing in characters that we already know, because I guess in this timeline we could like Luke Skywalker could pop up in this
anybody could
show,
pop up. I mean,
and
well,
so like that's weird.
Vane already popped up, so you already the first episode, Vane.
True.
Right away. But like who cares about him? He's nobody. But what if like in another live stream I was on the other day, someone was like, "What if Fennec pops up?" And then immediately I
Mm,
thought of the Bad Batch episode where Fennec was with Omega. I
yeah.
mean, that could happen. They're at a spaceport in trouble, and Fennec's like, "What are you kids doing?" And like, she could be badass real quick if they want to tie other people in. But I'm with you. I'd rather them not. The only one that's acceptable is Carson Teva because he is the space cop, so it makes sense for him to be running around writing tickets.
That's
But
true.
keep it in its own. Like,
I also think Carson would be really great because his vibe already fits that world that they've created
yeah,
for Skeleton Crew. So like if he
yeah.
just popped up and he saw like a bunch of kids just like doing crazy stuff, he would literally just like look up at them and be like, "Okay," and then just be on his way. So I feel like that could work.
Oh, this is the one person though where if he doesn't pop up, you need to make a Kai cut and add him in because like
It's perfect for it. Yeah.
it's yes, yes, yes. And it's like I feel like we have to get him, but they've done that before where like Ahsoka, for example. I was like, Zeb has to be in Ahsoka. It's Ahsoka, it's Rebels, it's come on. But we got him in Mando season 3 instead, which didn't make sense to me. So it's possible that they don't put Hondo in there, but yeah, it's just too perfect, man.
I
Too
feel
perfect.
like unfortunately, I feel like we would have gotten some kind of leak by now
You think?
that like Hondo would be in it. Unless they figured out a way to like shoot it with very, very minimal crew. I just feel like word gets out.
It's yeah, yeah, that's true. We probably would have known by now.
But I mean, I would love to see Hondo just like pop up, even if it was like, and this is why I was talking about how I would love if Star Wars shows had more of like, and Mando season 1 and 2 definitely had more of this, where it just feels like one mission each episode and is
Oh,
serialized. If there was just
yep.
like one episode and it was like Hondo, like an adventure with Hondo and the kids, that would be super fun because I'm sure he'd have
Mm,
great chemistry with all the kids because he's so like crazy. I think it'd be
yeah.
so fun to watch that.
Yeah, the only show where we got it where it's like that was Mando season 1, where each episode was pretty much on its own. Season 2 was more like a big story because it was all slowly connecting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of wish it was more like Mando season 1, like just an adventure every episode and it gets resolved. Versus this is a stretched out movie.
Oh yeah. This could be interesting. We saw X Wings in the trailer. So
Were they in the trailer? I don't remember. I didn't watch a lot of the trailers. I remember the
Yeah.
poster. The poster they put out, the ET poster had X-wings on it. So yeah,
Mm.
there's gonna be X-wings in it. We'll probably get Tiva, maybe Tiva and Zeb pull up and like, hey, Carabas, what are you kids doing?
Yeah, Zeb would be really fun.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I guess we'll see, man. We'll see.
I feel like live action Asajj is coming.
I don't.
Hey, listen, that would
That'd
be
be
so sick.
nuts.
I just don't feel like they would do that.
Yeah, that would be nuts. Because nobody's like, that's on no one's radar. No one's thinking about Asajj right now. But in this show, but that would be nuts if she was with like an older Omega.
I know. I was also thinking about older Omega because
Yeah,
at the end of the Bad Batch, she
she was
was
older.
getting ready to join the Rebels, so that was around the time of A New Hope. So
Yeah,
she'd be, even older now. She'd be like, what, 4 or 5 years older than she was at the end of Bad Batch.
yeah,
So that could definitely work too. That could be fun.
it could be. Yeah,
But again, I like how I literally just said, I hope they don't connect it. And now we're just spent so long being like, wait, but who could they connect? I'm like, we
yeah,
really should stop doing that because that's what always gets us like back into the Mandoverse, like connecting everything again, and then it's not a one-off story anymore.
What'd you think of Fern? What's up, Ironside? So at first she was super annoying. I'm like, I don't like this chick, but she did grow on me. She grew on me the moment when they were like outside of detention. She's like, "What are you here for?" So she slowly started to grow on me. But at first, the two girls, I'm like, oh, they're annoying. Little Cyclops girl and the other one. But it took a
Yeah,
little bit, and I'm like, okay, they're cool. They're just kids being kids. I get it. What'd you
yeah.
think?
I didn't really have too much of an issue. What was the other girl's name? Fern.
KB.
KB. Yeah. Fern. I thought. Oh, also, I want to preface everything I'm going to say about like the kids with like I think that as actors they're doing a great job,
Oh,
and it
they
is
killed it.
so cool to see such little children uh doing a great job in more Star Wars stuff because I think
Yeah.
that especially the young generation right now watching something like Skeleton Crew would just be freaking out, like being able to really see themselves in this adventure. It
Yeah.
brings out the inner child in me too. So I get that.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing is, especially with like, the labor laws now in Hollywood and stuff, and this is something my fiance and I have talked
Ooh.
about. It's just that you can't push kids as much as you used to be able to, and I think that that's a good thing.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think that you should be able to push these kids. The problem is sometimes you're not going to get the best performance out of them because you only have 4 hours on set with them, whereas
Ooh.
before it'd be like, oh, you can have them for an 8-hour day, and but at the end of the day, I want to reiterate that I am for children, having better working conditions in
Yeah.
Hollywood, 100%. The consequences of that, though, is that I think some of the performances aren't as great as they could be, and that's just something that I'm fine with trading off. That kids
Yeah.
having better working conditions, not having the best performances in shows. That's something I can live with. But I do think that sometimes can get people like being like, oh, I don't know if I loved this character who's a child because most of the time now the director isn't going to have as much time to work the craft of like getting that
Mm,
perfect take because they're like, you know what, we only have this amount of time with these kids. We have to get through, this amount of shots. We just got to keep going. Maybe it's not perfect, but it gets the job done.
yeah.
And so I do see that. I think being an issue that we could see more of that in the show. I was overall very impressed with these kids and how they were handling the material. So Fern, I thought was doing a good job. I didn't mind her character. I think she's just like one of those cool kids, who's
Mhm.
you know, she's got that rich family, but she
Yeah.
wants to, you know, be oppressed. I think that's kind of her vibe. She's like, I get too much stuff, and I want to be an adventurer, and I want to be, you know, scared of my surroundings, and I want like more in my life than what is so far. And so I get that. KB, the first thing I said when she was on screen was, I was like, man, what kind of messed up parents modded their kid like this?
Oh man. Yeah, but like she could take that off, right? Or is that's like built into her?
It looked like it was like built into her because she had like the like headset kind of.
Shaved, and it was like kind of shaved on the side
Yeah.
too.
Maybe
Oh
I'm wrong. Maybe it
man.
is something, but she never takes it off.
No, and she'll like press the button to open it, press it to close it.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, interesting.
It's kind of like that guy in Empire Strikes Back, right? That, but he's a cyborg, right?
Yeah, Lobot. Yeah, he's. I think I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he's like. Yeah, KB looks like Cyclops' daughter.
That's funny. they, they have a similar look to them with the visor, kind of.
The one part though that I died because I was like, oh my god, this is just beautiful. Was freaking Neil taking a bubble bath in a giant tub. I was like, what? It caught me off guard. He looked like Tony Montana and Scarface in the
Yeah,
big bubble bath. That was hilarious,
that was
man.
pretty funny. My fiance and I did say like that was a weirdly intimate choice. We were like, you know, maybe even like he like sitting on the toilet would have been maybe funnier, but also,
Yeah,
I mean, still the same amount of like weird and embarrassing.
yeah,
Bubble bath just felt a little. I was like, oh, I shouldn't be looking at this. I shouldn't be here
yeah.
and looking at a child in a bathtub. But you know,
So there was a lot of deep cuts when before the bubble bath, you saw the hologram that the three kids were watching.
yes, that's from the holiday special, right?
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. And I saw it. I'm like, that's weird. But when I was watching people's videos, they're like, oh my God, the holiday special. That's kind of cool. They threw that in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the spaceport, what's it called? Captain EO, that little flying bird thing from like the Michael Jackson thing.
Oh, was he in there?
Yeah, yeah, he was in the
Oh,
cage.
that's
And
cool.
yeah, so that was another little like random deep cut, and the little guy that took them off the ship and brought them to the pirate port, that little creature,
Mm-hmm.
he was in the Ewok movie. His species is from the Ewok movie.
Oh, interesting. Dude, that
Yeah,
guy was so freaky.
yeah, and when
He
he
was
got
just
the
like
credit and
up
ran
around
away.
and like flying around. I was
Yeah,
like, that's so funny.
yeah. So I appreciate stuff like that. All those little deep cuts that if you know, you know, but it flowed fine with the show and with the story. That stuff was cool.
Ah, man. You know, I think I went into this being like I have a lot of problems with Skeleton Crew, and now I'm
Teak.
coming out
Yeah.
being more like I'm really excited for this show actually.
Yeah, the potential is there, and like John Watts, I love the three Spider-Man movies he did. So like I
Oh
kind
yeah.
of I trust him, and like it was him, John, and Dave supposedly all working on this. So as long as there was no other hands meddling and they let those guys cook, they should be able to tell the story that they want. You know?
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think I just like you, I tried not to watch a lot of trailers, which is weird for me because usually when it comes to Star Wars projects, I'm like I consume every tiny little thing
Me
because I'm
too.
so excited. And so like part of it was I just like wasn't really hyped for this show. So I was just like, whatever, it's fine. Like I don't need to like look at it. But I also was from what I did see about how the show was, you know, being marketed and stuff, I was like, I think this is probably one of those stories that's better if you go in blind.
Yeah.
And so far I have been enjoying that experience a little bit more of just like not, you know, not anticipating stuff. Cause like, you know, we've already talked about some people in the comments being like, oh, there's X-Wings in the trailers and stuff. You know, if I'm already going into the show thinking about all the things that are to come, it's harder to like, you know, sit there and really enjoy it.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Hannah said, I put out a post asking for people's one word review. didn't get a single negative word. It's been pretty interesting to see and feel how genuinely happy and pleased people are with the show. I got that vibe after it aired. I'm watching like a lot of reaction videos and breakdowns, and like most people enjoyed it or had fun because like there's no big expectation for it. But it's kind of weird where it's like most people enjoyed it, which is the exact opposite of The Acolyte, where they were
Yeah.
destroying it before it started, and after every episode, it just was just worse and worse and worse it got.
Yeah, and I think that that's interesting too. I do like I was seeing some of the general buzz about this before we jumped on here, and I was a little bit like, man, I feel like I'm kind of the odd man out because I enjoyed it in a general sense, but I was also like, it didn't. There was something that like didn't quite feel like what Star Wars is, but I think that that there's also a part of me that's realizing that Star Wars is growing beyond what maybe I am comfortable with seeing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I need to like grow with it too, you know. Um, and I think that this is one of those shows that's going to kind of expand what Star Wars is for me, and I'm open to having that experience. You know, I'm open to having Star Wars look different and feel different as long as at the end of the day the story made me feel really good.
Hannah wants to know what your spicy take was. You were being so sus in messages before the show.
Yeah, so in the beginning of this, Hannah, I talked about how like um first of all, just like the way Star Wars shows are, and the way that a lot of shows are right now, it's like they're not quite going like full Game of Thrones, where like we're really getting into the nitty gritty, and we're spending like an hour 15 minutes for every episode, and it really like feels like it's a big built world, but it's also not like small like 20-25 minute like serialized, kind of how like Mando season 1 was, where every episode stood on its own and it was its own story. It's kind of in this like middle section where the reason why my cuts have thrived is because people are like, this story should have been consumed all at once, and you should just feel that like you go into a theater, you get the whole story, and you come out feeling like new, and you have this change of heart, and you like have felt these characters for that 2.5 hour movie, and then you come out and you're like, wow, like that was a full experience. And just like cutting up a story like that into smaller bits and releasing it weekly, I think harms the story and harms the experience. So that was my take on that. Plus, and now I've kind of come around to it, but like the American suburbia type of feel, I wasn't really huge on. I think it felt a little too close to home, and I think Star Wars sometimes I'm what I love about Star Wars is how different it feels from any other sci-fi. And so those were some of my big takes. But I think I'm more coming around to the American suburbia thing, especially because we talked about how it could really make sense in canon, especially because this is kind of like a hidden planet and no one's
Yeah.
really seen anything like it. So I think from that lens, that makes a lot of sense. But I'm not going to back down on the way that these shows are going, because I truly do feel like this could have been a really successful movie. And I'm sure a lot of people in the comments are going to be like, well, when is your movie version of this going to come out? But that's how I'm feeling. That's one of my only like big critiques, was just that like the storytelling style is still a little flawed to me. But I love the way this made me feel. Like I love that the childlike sense of wonder that this brought up. I think that is something we've kind of been missing in Star Wars. And the last time I felt that, honestly, was like while watching The Force Awakens. There was
Mm.
something in me that was like, this is an adventure, and this is Star Wars, and this is like it gave you that childlike sense of wonder. And then the Last Jedi destroyed that, and then Rise of Skywalker just pummeled me into the ground. So I'm glad to have that feeling again.
Yeah, and Hannah, if you have never seen the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey. Watch that right now because it'll also change your perspective of the show. Because like I feel like what's happening is like Truman Show. Watch
Mhm.
that movie, Hannah. Watch it tonight. You're sick. You're not going out. You watch it tonight, and then think about that city in the show because it's very similar. Somebody's lurking there. A comment here I liked is if it gets new people into Star Wars, that's a great start. And like how you mentioned it earlier, how kids, if they're seeing it, they can relate to it. I think if this is a kid's first introduction to Star Wars, and then they're like, what's a Jedi? What's a Jedi temple that goes up and down? Like, what is that? That's cool because they'll get to see and learn everything else. So I could see that being a really, really good start.
Yeah.
And then Macman, do you guys think the binge format will work better for these shows? Yeah, because you could get to the point and everything is done.
Yep, I agree, and I think that that's why like my movie cuts resonate with a lot of people because I think that people are really looking to just sit down and consume it all in one go.
Yeah. Good, Hannah. So yeah, that's what's happening. That is a fake city. That is not real. It's robots,
Mhm.
Truman Show. Somebody's lurking. I don't know who it is, but yeah, no, for sure.
Kai, do you think it would work better if they cut the episodes up like they did still, but dropped the entire season at once? Yeah, so that's kind of what we were talking about with like the binge thing.
Yeah.
I think yeah, probably because people could watch as much as they wanted to and stop whenever they're
Yep.
ready to. I don't think business wise Disney would never do that because they want 8 episodes so they can do 2 episodes in 1 month, 4 episodes in another month, and then 2 episodes in another month. Did I do that math correct? I did. Yes.
Yeah.
And so now they have 3 months where you have to buy a Disney Plus subscription. And
Oh.
so that's why they do stuff like that, to keep you getting the Disney Plus subscription. But if they could do a movie, then they can make way more at the box office than they would be able to on like just monthly subscriptions alone. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I mostly am just like I don't like when shows feel like movies cut up into sections
Yeah.
because then you can notice that like the end of the episodes they always just kind of feel like okay, like it feels more like the end of a scene instead of like the end of an episode. So like because shows like Lost, like I loved Lost, and that was like every single episode, yeah, it was telling a big story, but like you really would not be able to cut any of those seasons into movies because every single scene adds to the story and everything makes sense. And well, maybe not makes sense because I know I'm talking
Yeah.
about Lost here, but that idea that there is no fluff, and I don't think that there was necessary fluff in any of these episodes, but I just really had this overwhelming sense after episode 1. Like if they had just dropped episode 1 and that was it, I'd be like, oh, okay. But it wasn't until like episode 2 where we really started to get like into the start of the adventure. I
Yeah.
feel like I think they do episode 1 and 2. I think they've done that every single show, right? They do episode 1 and 2 drop at the same time.
Lately, yeah, they've been doing. I think Mando is the only one where they just did one because they're like, oh, you guys like
That's right, because
Mando.
the end had the child, and
Yeah.
that was like a real end
Oh
to an
God,
episode.
that moment was like mind blown.
Yeah,
Like no one's ever thought of a little Yoda ever.
Yeah.
Like it was like what? But yeah, Andor was 3 episodes because I remember all 3 of them put me to sleep. I didn't get past the second, but all the other shows have been 2. The animated is either been all of them. No, the animated.
I think some of those do just the first 2.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, they've been doing that. But Skeleton Crew and Andor, that's the last of the shows. Like, because Skeleton Crew was announced years ago. I forgot if it was at Anaheim Celebration or if it was London. No, it had to be Anaheim. So I'm wondering if they're going to keep making these shows or not, because you know how they want to cut back. Maybe just going forward to be movies, or I'd prefer that like
Me too.
the shows, animated and live action movies, please just keep that balance. That's what I would want.
Yeah. I think Ahsoka dropped one at a time.
I
I
think Ahsoka was
could
the
have,
first two, wasn't it?
yeah, I could have sworn that the first two came out at the same time, but maybe that's. I feel like because the first episode ends with um Shin and
Getting stabbed. Yeah,
yeah,
it was 2 episodes, because then we saw right away she was in the hospital bed. She
yeah,
survived, but Qui-Gon didn't. Everyone was up in
yeah,
arms for
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah, for the longest there was nothing. Like we got a teaser trailer at London Celebration, and then nothing for the longest time. People were like, "What the hell is Skeleton Crew?" They had no idea what it was.
Yeah, I remember when we started getting a few like leaks of like what the story kind of was going to be for Skeleton Crew. I was like, okay. I mean, especially when they said like Goonies mixed with Star Wars, I was like, I can definitely get behind that. But the way that shows were going, especially Acolyte and stuff, I was like, because Acolyte, they said Kill Bill mixed with
Frozen.
Frozen. And I was like, I'm on board for Kill Bill. Frozen sounds a little interesting to be part of that. And then it ended up being like not a good mix anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm now even more skeptical when they start being like, oh, here's my easy pitch. It's just going to be like this and this together, and that's what you're going to get. So I think I was like, I love Goonies and I love Star Wars. So really, there you can't go wrong if you're going to kind of do something like that. They didn't even mention Truman Show. That's something we've just kind of started thinking about, but
super
that
Truman
is
Show,
really
man.
interesting to me now.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch the Truman Show again. It's been so long. That I love Jim Carrey, man. He's a legend. Such a legend. Oh man. What did you think of when he was using the Force to get the key and they did the subtle Force theme in the middle of that song? I was like, oh, every time I hear it, it's just the goosebumps right away.
Yeah, that I did really like that. I think they implemented the Force theme really well in that moment because it was just so like,
Subtle.
yeah, it was subtle and just like soft and nice. And um, again, I think I was just like, ah, man, Jedi again, and of course it's going to be a Jedi that's going to come to their rescue. And I think we also were like, if he had the key the whole time, like if he could get the key the whole time, what was stopping him before?
Maybe so. Maybe it'll probably get explained in the next episode. But
Yeah,
what I would think is he doesn't have a ship, and he overhears these kids have a ship. Maybe that's why, because like it's a pirate planet. All those pirates hate him. He can't get out. But if he's a
true.
Jedi, still there's still a way you get out, sneak around. Like this is not your
Yeah,
ship.
Jedi easy peasy with all those pirates. I'm sure there's a lot of weak-minded people around there. I'm sure he could have just been like, "You literally don't see me," and then walk away.
Or I think he was never a Jedi. Maybe his mom was a Jedi and he's just a little force sensitive, but he was never trained. So he can only
Mm,
do like the cheap tricks. He can't do the mind tricks or this or that. So I think because like if he could be a Jedi, why isn't he the best pirate ever? Mind reading where everyone has their gold hidden and this and that. He should be the top.
right. Yeah, that's what I was initially thinking too. Like a Jedi pirate is gonna be able to like. There's no way he would have been mutinied because all of his tricks would have worked perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. He would
But
have
yeah,
knew.
there must be something more going on here of why he doesn't have full control of force abilities and maybe has, only given things a try, and only got a very small amount of training. Because what are they saying? Have they like put anywhere what his character's age is supposed to be? Because he probably
No.
was pretty young during Order 66, maybe
Yeah.
like in his teens or something.
I think that's what a lot of math everybody was doing was like he probably was a teenager during Order 66. Maybe he was like a youngling Padawan that got kicked out because he couldn't like focus, and then maybe that's how he survived. Like he got kicked out just before Order 66, met up with some pirates, and has been living with them ever since then.
That's true. I would like if they went that direction, because then it would be like, okay,
different.
Of course, like he wasn't ever necessarily thinking of himself as a Jedi, and so there wouldn't be as many signs that he was a Jedi for any, part of the Empire and any Inquisitors coming to find him if he had been so far removed
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah. And I have a feeling the next episode, the girls are going to be like, what's a Jedi? I have a feeling they have no idea what it is. And only Wim and Neil are going to be like, oh my God, he's a Jedi. They do this. They do like, I could see a sequence where he's explaining to him. He even takes out his iPad. Look at these stories here.
Yeah.
Well, no, because then at detention, she said to him, a Jedi temple's in the forest. So she knows the word. She knows the word.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I think probably on their planet they must get some kind of general education about Jedi.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what their reasoning would be. Like if they're trying to keep these kids to never want to go off world, and
yeah,
we don't know the full story on this planet and why it's there and why it's been kept hidden, but I would imagine that they don't let anybody leave.
Yeah,
because that would put everybody on that planet in danger
risk,
of them like being able to come back and tell people, there's this planet that I'm from and it's beautiful and luscious and safe, and people will be like, what? I want to ransack that.
Exactly. Yeah. So predictions for next week, what do you think we're going to see in that episode?
You know what is interesting is that I really don't know, and I think that's kind of exciting.
It is because the whole episode could be them escaping, and they could be on there, or they could get away quick, and they could be in outer space for a bit. I mean, there's so many options. So I'm like the same. Like I have no idea.
I do remember like there was a part of the trailer where like I don't know if they're on a comet or something. It must be a planet because they can breathe without any apparatus. But like there was a huge planet in the background. I don't know if you saw that. They were like, it was almost their silhouettes as they were like walking across.
Oh, okay. I think I remember
that might be in the next episode. Like he might take them to some interesting place that I imagine that the way the story is going to go is he's going to be like, okay, before we go to where you need to go, we need to pick up this something on this planet. And I think he's going to keep kind of trying to make them go to different places before he gets them home, obviously. And I'm interested to know why he's not going to just take them home right away. Like what does he need these children for? Or is it that they just keep running into problems and that's why they can't get home right away?
Or they have to find someone that knows everywhere, because maybe he doesn't know where Aden is.
I guess that's true, because if they don't have it on any of the maps, they're going to have to find somebody that knows some lore about it that like probably dates back thousands of years. If we are talking about Old Republic, or just a few, like maybe 100 years or 50 years, if we're talking about like the last time there was the Republic.
Yeah. This is interesting. CT said, what's more interesting is they're aware of the Sith. This indicates they must have been isolated since the Old Republic, because not even the High Republic remember the Sith. Even in Acolyte, when they saw the red blade or the Sith, they were like, what is that? Like they were clueless.
True.
So that's super interesting, because on the kid's data pad, when they broke down the Arabesh, it said Sith, I believe, on one or two of the parts of it. So they're aware of the Sith. So that's interesting, because that's a deep cut tying it to Old Republic.
Yeah. This made me laugh because I thought the same thing.
At Aden, yeah. That's so funny.
As soon as they said at Aden, all I could think about was are they just saying at?
Yeah, that's so funny. It's funny, the very first opening scene, a lot of people thought it kind of like reminded them of A New Hope when the Vader was
Mm.
boarding. Right away for me when I saw it, I thought Rogue One Vader hallway scene, because I was like, oh, is there about to be a hallway scene right now? I thought it was gonna be one pirate coming out and like doing it all, but it was like a bunch of them. But yeah.
I'd love to know what the I know we've been reading some of them here, but everybody that's watching, what's some of your just general consensus about this show and where you think it might go, and if you're excited for that. Because I feel like you, where like it seems like the general consensus on this is that we're excited about it, and almost like getting back to this feeling that we all had like when the first episodes of Mandalorian were coming out, and it was like everyone was kind of rallied behind the same thing, and I feel like we haven't had that in a while, and I'm
No.
kind of excited to have that back in the Star Wars community, where like generally everyone is pretty much on board with a concept, because I cannot remember it. It must have been like the start of season 2 of Mando that everyone was still kind of feeling this, where everyone was super excited where things were going.
And that start of season 2 Mando was insane, because like the Boba Fett armor tease, but then we're like, oh, it's some guy. But then I remember, I remember I was in my living room. It was the end, and you see the bald head, and as soon as I saw it, I'm like, is that Tamora? And then he turned around, and I was like, Boba Fett's alive. I was so excited that Boba Fett was alive. I miss like exciting moments like that, man. Oh
Yeah,
my
me
god.
too. Yeah, I love the show so far. Some people haven't watched it. What,
Tim,
Tim?
spoilers.
What are you doing here? Lord.
That's funny.
I haven't felt a genuine nostalgic Star Wars feeling like this since probably Force Awakens.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about too. It does feel like, there's so many possibilities for this show, and just in general, like it. I think that childlike sense of wonder has been kind of missing in a lot of these shows, and
Yeah.
like Andor has no business having childlike sense of wonder. Truly, it's more of a gritty show, so
Yeah.
I don't fault Andor for having that. I actually really think I'm excited that there is a space for Star Wars to have something like Skeleton Crew and something like Andor, where like
Yeah.
you can still have this child adventure, but you can also have this gritty war story. And I think that's also what I loved about Rogue One too, is I felt like
Mm.
I was like, this is so cool to actually see like Star Wars has war in the title, but to actually do a war movie, that's really cool. Even in Solo, there was like a very quick, I think like 5 minutes of montage when Han Solo was like part of the wars. And some
Yeah.
of those like sequences were so cool. I was like, I want a whole movie where we are like, it's just a full-on war movie, but in Star Wars,
In the Mud Trooper outfit when he was
Uh-huh.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
sick.
Yeah. No, that was cool. For sure.
Let's see what else people are saying. I like we can actually theorize without having to watch absolute. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, the theorizing stuff is fun because like it didn't hit me while watching it, but like there's so much going on that could happen, and like that's fun, especially with Hondo, because there's that one scene in the trailer where there's a room full of treasure, like Indiana Jones found a treasure room or national treasure, and the Hondo looking skull with the Hondo looking throne.
Yep.
I can't wait to get to that episode.
Yep. The best thing about the show to me is I have no idea where they will take it. I love the way it's shot, and everyone's acting is great. I just can't wait for next week. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't even talked about like the cinematography. I do like. I think they're doing a great job with how it looks. Like the look
Yeah.
of the show is really nice, and it feels nostalgic, like 80s nostalgic, even though I was never in the 80s, so I don't know how I would have nostalgia for it. But I guess I've seen movies that were made in the 80s, so it feels more like that, but also feels very much like modern Star Wars as well. And So it is really nice what they're doing with the show here.
Do you think that's an advantage to John Watts doing this, since he usually does movies,
I
bringing
think so.
that spice to the TV show aspect?
Yeah, definitely. Because like you also see a different style that like Dave Filoni has, and I think Ahsoka kind of being his first shot at like live action Star Wars. I think you could see how he was probably way more comfortable in animation, where you can like
Yeah.
continually tweak until the end, and it's like, you know, you don't have to be firm on exactly what expression Ahsoka makes, because at the last second you could be like, actually, could we
Yeah.
tweak it a little bit more, and then do the final renderings. But like in live action, you got to be on it while
Yep.
you're filming. You have to be on it for those performances, because everything is based like built off of that. And so having experience in actual like filmmaking live action, I think is really beneficial. And I love Dave Filoni. I think he's doing a great job. I do think that he's probably more comfortable in animation, and I think he really thrives in animation.
Yeah.
I think Ahsoka showed me that maybe he's still not fully comfortable in live action, and that's okay. I'll give him a pass, because I'm sure being thrown into that world after
Yeah.
doing animation for so long is a very strange thing. Um, and I'm glad that he was able to do Ahsoka and then Ahsoka season 2 before he's doing his
Movie.
Star Wars movie, because I think that
Yeah.
that's really good practice, and he'll really nail the movie with the practice of the shows.
I love this. Nick Frost is amazing as Smee. I love Nick Frost, man. I hope he comes to Celebration, because like I just love him from like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, all those wacky movies. He was fun though. He's
Yeah,
definitely
he's
not dead.
great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Interesting take.
And
And
Snore.
Snore has no business being that boring. Yeah, I mean, some of the episodes were kind of flat, but I think that that's kind of the nature of what that story was, because it's definitely like more of a gritty build-up type of story than like action-packed. So I can see what they were trying to do with it, but I also do know that a lot of people found it to be boring. I will say, when you dedicate like a whole minute scene to a character eating cereal in a sci-fi, that is kind of strange.
Oh,
So
yeah. And get smacked by his mom a bunch of times. Oh my
yeah,
god. Yeah, that's rough. That is rough.
I think Filoni thrives more in writing and storytelling than anything. Yeah, but I also think that just like any other storyteller, they need time and inspiration. And I think that even if you're a really great storyteller, if someone just like throws you into the mix and is like, hey, so in 2 months we need to start filming, can you come up with a story? Even the best storyteller is going to struggle with that. And with the way that Lucasfilm was run for the longest time, and I know they're kind of backing off from it now, which is great,
Yeah.
but they were really depriving their artists of like the due time that they needed to really develop a full story. So like, as much as we hear stuff like, oh, the Taika Waititi movie is
Oh god.
still just in development, or like Rian Johnson's trilogy, is that ever going to happen? I'm like, honestly, let them cook. And if it takes 20 years for them to get that thing done, don't force it until it's ready, because it won't be good if we force it. So I'm fine with it taking some time.
No, for sure. For sure. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I got. You got anything else before we get out of here?
No, man, I am really sad that we didn't have Hannah on this, because I wanted to hear what she had to say. But I
Yeah.
guess we're gonna have to see her on the next one.
Yeah. But all right, guys. All right, chat. Appreciate you guys popping in. We'll be back next week talking about episode 3. Hopefully, Hannah will be recovered. But as always cut to the Sith side. Bye, guys.